Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Dustin, Berserker Bear. I have another edition, another episode for you of Bushwhacking Buffalo. Today we are going to be at a little trail that my wife came up with on, off the cuff. We're to go today for a nice little outing. That was Buffalo. This is East Aurora, New York, and this is Hunters Creek County Park. We are there today. I have some awesome pictures. This is a preview of what you'd see in, obviously, Google Chrome. We're going to take a look there. I have pictures, of course, and we're going to go through that. I will show you where it is, where you can get to it from the Erie County government site. Really cool. Shows all the trails in New York State, Erie County. There's a lot of them. Certainly Buffalo is industrialized and was, but again, a 5-minute, 10-minute drive outside of Buffalo, and we're going to read this article. You're at a place like this. I found this article actually detailing this place, so I'll read from that as I go through the slideshow, as I normally do with my, the format of my channel. A pretty good, in-depth, detailed, the longest article I could find effectively, and I'll share it in the description. So, again, this is Berserker Bear, Dustin, with another episode of Bushwhacking Tartaria. And I also have another thought that I'm going to address regarding old books. Okay, let's get right into it. Bushwhacking Buffalo with Berserker Bear. Here we go. Okay, so here we are. Now, if you're confused at all about the recent update or whatever to my channel, and I guess you will if the branding of it, I'm going to explain that, and I'm going to address that right now regarding Tartarian architecture, as one would call it, or some call it, and what we are studying in this field of research, and what some are saying are, this is great. I really appreciate people getting out there, and if I inspire you to get out there and do what I do, that's great. I mean, I'm humbled, and I addressed that last time, that I really appreciate my subs and everything that has came for me even starting the channel. Now, that said, I think that we have a responsibility, myself included, to start hammering down some definitions and extrapolating a little bit more on said definitions and getting more a little bit laser focused, if you will, with our observing and discernment of our observations. Because, as I've said before, and I'll preface, I think that I've only proposed ideas. I'm not laying claim to anything or planting my flag on anything. So with that, what I want to say and show here is a picture that was in my family for a very long time. And I wanted to see if you guys see how it still says that the T word, if you will, in my title here. Again, now, that intro that I use, my homie Mr. Brees made that for me. He's very good in the audio-visual stuff, doing that kind of stuff. If you would like to get in contact with him, we could certainly make that happen. If you'd like for him to do some work for you in that field, he's very good at that. He's also a very good researcher. He made me that on the arm, and I appreciate that. And I do talk about a bunch of ideas regarding the research with my dude. So, again, I appreciate all the time and the insights that you give me, homie, and I appreciate that intro. That said, it does say Tartaria. We might have to update that, but we'll see. Now, what does Tartaria and this guy have in common? I'll tell you what I believe. In with what I said before regarding certain people calling, like, for example, a Tartarian parking structure, a Tartarian parking structure. I'm not saying that whatsoever. I disagree with that entirely. And I'm here to tell you in no uncertain terms that I have absolutely no idea what Tartarian architecture is. I have no idea what Tartarian architecture is. Again, let me underline that and bold it in italics. I have no idea what Tartarian architecture is. I know what barbarians are, and I know what the term gaijin means. Now let's make some relations, let's draw some parallels here, if you will. Now, when we talk about, for example, when I'm talking with Campbell or Philip, Michelle, Gibson, and being flippant, and we use the term Tartarian architecture. Or if I see things here in my city, sometimes I've made that mistake by saying, "Oh, this looks Tartarian," knowing full well that I have these books, this book right here actually, that define all the terms of the actual true classical architecture, and that I have for reference. Okay. Now, Woody from Wood and Nichols has addressed this also, where he's said that he stopped using the word Tartaria entirely. And I agree with that, unless we're talking about the actual tract of land that was Grand Tartary that is labeled and delineated on old maps that we see. I'm not going to get into those old maps because I want to walk you through an idea that I had trying to explain this and extrapolate on this a little bit, because in my opinion, I don't know what Tartarian architecture is. What I'm here to tell you is that I use these old books that I have, especially this one that you see right here. Again, I have this book. It's in my library collection from my grandfather. I do know these type of architecture styles. Okay, this book goes through all of them. And when it says art, it actually goes through and it means the architectural style. So I think I was very clear that I don't know what architectural style Tartaria is. And when we say that, it's not being flippant. It's used as a blanket term, if you will. And this will help some people to understand why we do use it sometimes. And we're coming away from it now a little bit more as we refine and laser focus what we do, our work and our research. Because we not only owe it to ourselves to be our most harsh critic, but we owe it to our supporters and our fans and our subscribers. We don't want to muddy the water. No pun intended, but maybe pun intended. We don't want to muddy the water. I have my opinions, and I've always thought that I proposed them as opinions, not laying claim to anything. Okay? So we got French, Gothic, we have English. You see how it's going through all the different types? These are all the main types of classical architecture, and not one is labeled Tartaria. Now that I've laid that out, let's go over the definition of what a barbarian is. And a barbarian is something that might look like in your mind's eye when you hear barbarian. That's why I took this picture. Now this photo right here, little backstory, my father, we've had this picture in my house forever. And actually the backstory is one of his friends drew this for him from an old... Now, Conan the Barbarian, you might think of Arnold Schwarzenegger, but actually it's a comic book from back in the day. Okay. Now, my dad was into this stuff, obviously, Viking history. We have it in our lineage. one of my dad's friends, when he was in Riverside High School, drew this for him from a magazine or a comic book out of Conan. So in your mind's eye, when I say barbarian, I presume, probably 95% of people get this type of image in their head. And I took a picture of this because of that reason, and because it's personal. It's kind of a personal home keepsake. It's been in my basement forever in our workout set area. And a barbarian is a member of a community or tribe not belonging to one of the great civilizations: Greek, Roman, Christian. Okay. I mean, that might be debatable. Christian is a religion. I don't know why that's there. That's interesting. Now, that would identify anybody who was attacking or against, let's use Roman, okay, just to round it off or whatever. Anybody who was attacking the Roman tribe or empire, if you will, would have been considered a barbarian, other outsider. Or in Japan, it's a gaijin, a foreigner. Now, they would have called, speaking in terms of Roman, okay, Kublai Khan, for example, would have been from the Asian steppes, would have been referred to as a barbarian from a Roman soldier, whether it's in the Byzantine Roman Empire or, the Roman Empire before it split up into two. Vercingetorix would have been referred to as a barbarian. Notice his garb, okay. Also, let's just say spelling it wrong. Attila the Hun would have been considered a barbarian. So barbarian, or gaijin, is effectively a blanket term which is describing a bunch of different cultures and a bunch of different people. So I think that when it shouldn't be taken as ignorance when we're in conversation talking back and forth saying, oh, that looks like it's Tartarian, because academia actually refers to, they kind of use the same type of idea. They're literally labeling different cultures, different types of people, a blanket term called a barbarian, okay? So I think that we should be given a little bit of leeway in that sense, and not just laughed at and poked at and painted with the same letter of the alphabet, A before, or what's the term? I don't even want to say it, but there was an article that came out recently, and nothing against the author or whatever. Actually, we've been in professional communication, and we've kept it above board. Zach's very cool, and again, I appreciate all the insight that I've gotten from that. But I want to get ahead of this and say that, kind of go to bat for all of us in this research field, and saying that, well, if we use the term Tartaria across the whole spectrum of what we see as architecture, we may be being a little careless there, okay? But in the same light of how you guys use barbarian in terms of Roman, the Roman stance, looking at all the, it's understandable that in conversation for the purpose of brevity or whatever, and maybe not everybody knows. For me, for example, I don't know all of the different types of specific architecture, whether it's Romanesque or whether it's French, because again, that's another anomaly that we come up with when we're in this field. So I hope I'm explaining that correctly, because I think that we're starting to get hammered a little bit, and rightfully so, by the critics of this that say, well, why are you saying something if you have identified that Tartary is a tract of land in Siberia? Why are you labeling some of the architecture here in America as that? And I think that we've already addressed that, but I just wanted to underline it a little bit more with this idea, because effectively there is a parallel to how we're doing that in the mainstream academia of it, and it's barbarian. And I think that I'm showing you an example of that right now. Even gaijin in the Asian, anybody who would have been from without, okay? They're using a blanket term to describe a whole bunch of different stuff, just as we're using a blanket term, tartaria, to describe a whole bunch of different stuff that we're seeing. It's like, get over it. It's not something that's not that should be taken without any merit, because there is merit in this, and I wanted to get that out there. I hope I explained it well, and hopefully this helps people to not call a parking garage, for example, Tartarian architecture. That does us no good whatsoever. Again, getting boots on the ground and going out there and videotaping it, obviously I'm down for that, but we need to get a little bit more, we need to have a little bit more responsibility if we're going to get more professional with this and keep this going. So again, I agree with Woody, and not necessarily, let me take that back. I'm not going to stop using that term, with Campbell, and I think that we've addressed before that old world is a better blanket term, if you will. But I would say not to just brush us off when we're in casual conversation, or if I misspeak and I, for example, say that a cathedral here in America looks Tartarian-esque. Okay, I'm using it in the same light that the mainstream academia uses barbarian to describe Vercingetorix and Attila the Hun. They're two completely different cultures. They're calling them both barbarians. So that's all I'll say about that, and I hope people understand what I'm saying about that, so we can move forward professionally, respectfully, with the research that we're seeing. Old world architecture in my city, in your city. So let's get into this playlist. Anybody has questions, my contact information is in the About section of my YouTube page. It's my Yahoo email. I'm getting too inundated for my Gmail. I really appreciate everybody's support, but please, professional inquiries only, and professional, if you guys got some insight for me. Of course, constructive criticism, obviously, I welcome it and I expect it. So that's how we hammer down and get to business, if you will. Every time I go to a place with my family, I'll take these pictures and I'll make a video of it. And if nothing else, we have a beautiful area here in Western New York, obviously. This could be down any road in your city, and you turn around, it's just a beautiful farm, silos in the back, and birds chirping. New York State is not all industrialized, and as far as I'm concerned, it's one of the most beautiful areas that I've ever seen, though I haven't been all over the realm yet. My intent with this channel is nothing more, nothing less. Showing and showcasing the beautiful architecture in Buffalo, the beautiful area in and around the Niagara region, from Buffalo to Niagara Falls to Lewiston, even out to Rochester. I'll be out there too, and Lockport, as I've addressed in the my last episode. So, all right, let's get ready. So what I'm going to do is read from this article. Let's go over this right now. This will be a little bit of flying from the hip here. So again, I hope I addressed that Tartarian barbarian parallel well enough for you guys to understand. If you have questions, please hit me up. I'm on MeWe. There was a comment on my last video asking how to get a hold of MeWe. You got to sign up on a profile and let me know. Email me, and I have to invite you. So I have to know your username profile on MeWe so I can find you and invite you to the group. Because again, in with what I said earlier about getting more focused and more hammering down definitions and our approach to this and networking the realm. Also, I don't think people are privy to the idea that I have connection. Well, we all have connections with. Philip is in Moscow. Okay, Campbell is in Perth, Australia. Mr. Brees is also in Queensland, Australia. Martin is in England. Michelle Gibson is in Sedona, Arizona. that's a network right there, and I can communicate with them. John Levi is in Salt Lake. I can communicate with all of them within the next 10 minutes if I wanted to. Obviously, I'm recording right now, but that's another thing too. We have a network that we rely on and can solicit information and pool information from with regards to the research that we do. And to not take that seriously, you're doing yourself a disservice, especially when I just point out the fact that there's a parallel to when we use a blanket term like Tartaria, and it's not something to brush off, even though we are going to get a little bit more laser focused with it, and understandably, rightfully so, to be called out and checked on it a little bit, because it's already cliche. So old world is a little bit more fitting, and but we should be given a little bit more leeway, if you will, and not painted with a single word of the alphabet that's been, pretty much blown out of the water to be a psyop, in my opinion. So that's what I'll say about that. And let's get into the slideshow. I'm going to read from this article, which I'll leave in the description, Discovering Sanctuary at Hunters Creek Park. We'll do a slideshow of this bad boy right here. Oh, this was cool. Yeah. Comes in pretty clear, too. I'll do this so you guys can pause it. But this is a legend. Very cool. If you're going to do this stuff and get on the trails and get your boots on the ground or on the scene is another thing that I use. Make sure you take pictures of these informative postings. Very cool. So, that's where I was. Erie County Parks and Recreation and Forestry. Sergeant Mark A. Redemacher Memorial Park, Hunters Creek. Park features. The following are prohibited on the Sergeant Mark Redemacher Memorial Park, Hunters Creek. This is redundant. Okay, so you can't camp there. It's like a trail. You just go there to hike, and it's very cool. It's not as big as, like, you'd say Watkins Glen. We were going to go there. It's a 2.5 hour drive from Buffalo. But Watkins Glen is another beautiful place in New York State. My wife just found this one, and we didn't actually I didn't find this bad boy anywhere. But old world chimney, if you will. I'm sure there was some moonshining distilling going on here because, again, New York State's pretty rural. So can't camp there, can't have fires there. But there is mountain biking, bicycling, horseback riding. In the winter, you can snowshoeing, cross-country skiing. That's cool. History. Let's get a history of this real quick. And I'll read this one as I go through the slideshow. Okay, stick with me, guys. These pictures are amazing. And wait, you know what? Let me give you a little gravy. Got stuff like this going on. Whoa. This is the kind of stuff I can... Whoa. Whoa. That's what I'm talking about. So I'll read this one right now because it's short, and then I'll close it. While the official park name may be Sergeant Mark A. Redemacher Memorial Park, Hunters Creek, it is more commonly referred to as Hunters Creek. The parkland consisted of farmland and woods following the settlement of the area. Foundations of the homesteads and barns can still be seen in the park's interior. A large log cabin was constructed as a hunting lodge for the Kellogg family. Only the fieldstone chimney and foundation remains. The park was purchased by the County of Erie in the early 1970s using federal and state funding. In 1983, the day of that's my birthday, my birth year, the Erie County Legislature voted unanimously to approve a resolution to rename Hunters Creek Park to Sergeant Mark A. Redemacher Memorial Park, although the park was not formally recognized by this name until 2012. Mark Redemacher was a 20-year-old town of Wales resident who was killed in the Grenada invasion in October of 1983. God rest your soul, Mark. God bless. And thank you for your service. Access to the park is from either Hunters Creek Road on the east or Centerline Road at Vermont Hill Road to the south. There are parking areas at both locations. So that's where we parked was the main one that you can see on the Google Earth. We parked up in here. And as a matter of fact, we parked right there. Pretty cool. Let's go like this. I haven't done this one in a while. Zoom in. Boom. Very cool. I thought that fence was awesome. Okay, so Conan, done. Made my point there. Read from this article, pull it out. And start slideshow. Bear with me while I get my bearings. I don't think it should be too loud. Here we go. Okay. In Buffalo, we like to say that you can get anywhere in 20 minutes, and it's true. There's not too much around here that's more than a quick trip away. And while the convenience of locales like the airport and New Airfield make the top of 20 lists, there's another spot within driving distance of downtown that you can't miss if you're a fan of the outdoors, that's for sure. Hunters Creek Park, also dedicated as Sergeant Mark A. Rademacher Memorial Park outside of East Aurora, may not be as popular as Devil's Hole State Park, that's Niagara Falls, or Chestnut Ridge Eternal Flame, but it's a hidden gem favored by locals in the know. It may be comparatively small, but the winding gorge, waterfalls, abundant trails to explore give it a much bigger feel. It's a conservation park, so it's underdeveloped by design. And since it's not as well advertised as other parks, it's been largely unscathed by the graffiti and litter that can often plague popular outdoor areas. Not really. I mean, I can say that, from experience. A lot of the parks in and around New York State, or Western New York, if you will, they're pretty clean. But I hear what he's saying. And this is another synchronicity. I did briefly read over this one. My dog Bo and I did have a dog, Bo. That was my dog growing up, Bo. And how fitting is it that, the picture I used in the beginning hits home for sure. So my dog Bo and I head to Hunters Creek just about every weekend in the summer. The 20-mile network of crisscrossing trails gives you endless options. You can stay on the high ground and look for the remains of Kellogg Cabin, or head down into the gorge and hike along the creek bed. That's what we did. Oh, and this was, you'll see my family here, and might hear my daughter talking. And I told her that, always be wary of bridges for trolls and crossroads for the ghosts. And obviously I'm Christian, but I still teach her the old information. Nope. And also, this was certain areas that you go in here. My camera phone doesn't necessarily give it justice, but you see the little nooks and crannies of a little prairie or through the trees, and it's just, you think that you're in another time. And I think of the movie Legend with Tom Cruise. Before the girl goes out, you see the boots on the ground. Before the girl goes out on an adventure, one of the older ladies tells her, "Be wary of toadstool rings, willow trees, and old oaks." And you think that stuff's in a movie and it's just a flippant remark, but I tend to take that with a truth drop. So that's kind of the feel that I got. And I get a lot walking through these places. In the city, there's not too many pictures that you can take where you can get a feel for the old world, because you got street signs and, traffic lights and all that stuff in the pictures. Sometimes you can get one. I got one. I did this before my memorial, or the War Memorial Stadium pictures that I took the other day, because this was special. I hope you guys like this. So, sorry if I get off on a tangent with narrating, but yeah, this was a very special, a great time with me and my family. And I thought it was a great opportunity to do another bushwhacking episode for you. And then I also have video, so. Okay, my dog Bo. My dog Bo and I head to Hunter's Creek just about every weekend in the summer. The 20-mile network of crisscrossing trails gives you endless options. You can stay on the high ground and look for the remains of Kellogg's cabin, or head down into the gorge, hike along the creek bed again, like we did. If you're looking for a longer hike, there's a long linear trail that starts from the northern end of the park and stretches all the way to the southern edge. What I love about Hunter's Creek is that the park's personality changes with the seasons. In the dry summer months, the creek is low enough to hike in or cross over. The fall foliage paints the park with a palette of yellows, reds, oranges, and purples, while the winter months transform it into a frozen playground. Come spring, the snow melts, roars over the waterfalls and through the gorge. Yeah, that's one thing too about the. Here, I can show you actually. Let me pause this.
This is beautiful.
In the Northeast, why doesn't it see?
Great pick.
Again, it's doing it again. Sorry, guys, I lose my place. This is unbelievably annoying. You guys seen that one? Let's do this right quick, though. I want you to see the colors. So these are the kind of colors. Again, this is in the article, but Northeast in the fall, all the deciduous forests where the trees fall every year, it's beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful things you could see. So we do have the seasonal, how changes the actual the way things look, like he just explained, is one thing why, or another reason why I love this area, Western New York, even the Northeast for that matter. Okay. Personality changes through the seasons. In the dry summer months, the creek is low enough to hike or cross over. The fall foliage paints the park with a palette of yellows, reds, oranges, purples, while the winter months transform it into a frozen playground. Come spring, the snow melt roars over the waterfalls and through the gorge. At risk of exaggerating a bit, Hunter's Creek sometimes reminds me of our national parks. There's a turn in the gorge that looks like a section of the Narrows in Zion. And that's delineated like it's a place. I'm not familiar where it is. It says the Narrows in Zion. A heavy spring rain will make the creek gush like Yosemite's Merced. And if you go on an off day, it's secluded enough to make you think you're in Glacier National Park. The scenery isn't quite the same, and the trails are comparatively easy, but you'd be hard-pressed to find another spot around here that so fully immerses you in nature. I agree. He's definitely right. It's beautiful. Literally, it's about a 25, 30-minute drive outside of Buffalo.
So
And it
cool.
feels like I'm in the middle of, it felt like I
This
was
way,
in the
water,
middle
you
of
see the water, you go towards
the
water.
Adirondacks. So watch, you can see in the distance in this one, there's the water in the back. I don't know if, again, my phone might not give it justice because it's literally my camera phone. I do like the idea of having it. Of course, I'd like to
Tyler, do you
upgrade
see
like
an
the.
X anywhere? Ooh, look at
I'd
this.
like to upgrade like the
That's a
proper people.
bridge. You gotta go over that bridge.
But
Yeah. Video.
yeah, I like the idea of having my phone because I can take it
How do we
anywhere with
get? How do
me.
we get down to that water? We can go right here. Oh yeah.
Okay. In Glacier, so he's talking about how it reminds him of the author. We're going back to the article. It reminds him of being in national parks, and I agree. I've camped many times in the Adirondacks as a kid. Adirondacks is a pretty extensive area for camping, fishing. It's beautiful, and it does. Once you get into this place and you can't hear any signs, or you can't hear any sounds of the street or the expressway, and it's just nature, you definitely get that feeling for sure. It does make you feel like you're out in the middle of nowhere, and that's what I want to bring to you with this channel also, not just the research and the looking into the old world and stuff like that. I have came to some new conclusions for sure, and we'll address that maybe on a roundtable. But this is going to be more of a getting in and around Western New York area, obviously boots on the ground, in conjunction with the old world research and fishing as well. Check out the Outsider show. I'll link to that also here for you. Okay, so the scenery isn't quite the same, and the trails are comparatively easy, but you'd be hard-pressed to find another spot around that so fully immerses you in nature. Again, I agree. And that's going to be, we're going to start the slideshow. This picture reminds me of another great movie. A River Runs Through It. It's one of my favorite. I highly recommend that movie. A River Runs Through It. Okay. Like many of our national parks, Hunters Creek takes a little work to get to, but there's a charming small town close by if you're in need of rations. On my way home from a hike, I like to head into East Aurora to stop at Homegrown Kitchen and refuel with their Chunky Monkey smoothie or the Rancheria Grain Bowl. There you go. Nice little plug for you. So, Homegrown Kitchen, getting the shout out. Hope you guys are still open. What does that look like, y'all? I'm not even going to get into it, but I can get here in 20 minutes and I can follow up. So, emails, comments, research related, professional, respectful, above board. And I, in turn, follow suit. Okay? All right. So, if you decide to head out to Hunters Creek, make sure that you check the weather. It can drastically affect conditions. Dry days are best to visit. Bring waterproof footwear if you have it. You'll almost certainly end up near or in the creek. Yeah, very slippery. This rock is extremely slate, I believe, or either slate or shale. I'm not a geologist. I'm not an architect, okay? But I do know certain definitions and stuff, so that's either shale or slate, I believe. Extremely slippery, and there you go. Dry days are best to visit. Bring waterproof footwear if you have it. You'll almost certainly end up near or in the creek. I almost seen a lady fall, actually, walking on that very stuff. When it's wet, it's unbelievably slippery. Make sure that you have plenty of water, food, sunscreen, first aid kit, and all the other standard hiking necessities. Here's a good checklist to work off of. Cell service can be spotty, so make sure that you take a screenshot of the park map on your phone. It's a good idea, actually. Or have an actual map. You can find a map here. There is also one at the main trailhead at the south lot. One last thing. Those of us that enjoy the outdoors can be a bit overprotective of our natural resources. Promoting conservation areas like Hunters Creek can increase visitation and can also have negative impact on sensitive environments in the park. But it doesn't seem right to keep such an awesome place secret. I share it with you in hopes that you'll enjoy it responsibly. We all play a role in caring for our shared public land. Before you visit any park, familiarize yourself with leave no trace principles and park rules. I agree. Help preserve places like Hunters Creek so that we can continue to enjoy them for years to come. So, meet me and Bo on the trails this weekend. Pretty cool article. Again, I will leave it in the description. And now we can just hip fire as I go. Let's turn on. Oh, there you go. You see a frog? I was showing my daughter. It crossed the path, and she didn't see it at first. So if you kind of move near it, it will hop around, and you can see it pointed out from that. And I was just teaching her stuff like that. It was very cool. Let's get some sound, just a little bit. See him? Little man chilling. Such a great time, and I highly recommend you get out and you do the same. If you have the opportunity to film it or take some footage, because there's nothing like family. There's nothing like getting out in the outdoors. And I hope to bring more of this stuff to you as much as I possibly can. Again, I'll show you I'll preview the War Memorial Stadium for my next video. I have it all, the pictures and everything. But again, this is kind of a last minute deal where we were going to make a day of it and go to Watkins Glen. But we instead wound up going here, a little bit closer. Okay. Now this is some serious gravy right here. This is also to bring in and incorporate fishing aspect to it. I don't have my fishing stuff here, but as far as creek fishing and trout fishing, like the other channel that I showed to you last episode, The Outsiders. So you see this little gully here, this goes into the bigger one. I believe that's tributary, but I could be mistaken there. Not a geologist either. Okay. But when you're trout fishing, you get in and on top of all this stuff. You can still fish for bass like this. See that? I still got it. But the creeks, it's one thing my father likes doing. He was always a big trout fisherman because you got to do this kind of stuff while you have your fishing pole. I didn't bring mine because it was more of a family outing, but this is what you would say quintessential getting in there. Trout fishing is all about. Holes like this. When the water's a little higher, they have the ability to swim over. Now here's a good example of that. Now this berm, that is so cool. Let me see if I can explain this. Okay. Yeah. So when the water is high, like it was explaining in that article, the water can get all the way up here. That's the whole thing, and I'll explain that more about how it relates to fishing. But I seen these trees laying down, and I'm like, what's going on here? And turns out they fell. So let's keep it going. Now, again, I'd like to get more places like this. The two gentlemen that I met at Burt Dam, Nick and Cole, I got in with them, and I'll get you similar videos for bushwhacking Lockport caves with those dudes. Of course, that's what I want to do, is get this stuff out more. Sometimes I feel like I put my foot out a little bit too far and extend myself a little bit too thin when I put out the Greek fire. That's definitely, I have to get more research that's been on the back burner, if you will. Okay, here we go. And no pun intended, but it has been on the back burner, okay, because I got family. This is a part-time thing for me. It's a hobby. I wish I had more time, but I do really enjoy getting the boots on the ground for you and doing stuff like this. So when the water level's higher, consider this all underwater. Picture this all underwater, and these little nooks right here are where the catfish like to chill. When you see those crazy ass, excuse my language, hillbillies down south that do that hand fishing, I give them all the credit in the world, and I would never ever do that. But that's where these catfish chill. And when they're putting their hand, you see they're putting their hands, it's literally just like that. That's where the catfish chill. Trout will chill in there too, but they like to be moving around a little bit more. A catfish will sit right there. That's why when you get a catfish on the line, sometimes you think it's like a log, because they'll just sit right down on it. Sometimes they purposely. Catfish are smart. Sometimes catfish will purposely wrap themselves around a log, or they just when I say sit on it, it means they don't go anywhere. Of course, some fight, but so picture that now. When the water's high and the levels are high, that's all under right here. This would be all underwater, and that would be the water level up here. Okay, we experience that up here in western New York. Beautiful area. So again, at the end, I'll round off by showing you guys where to come for my MeWe. And you're going to have to, again, to address the question that I had about how do I join the MeWe, or one of the commenters I said that I had acknowledged our Realm Earth research group in the episode and wanted to know how to apply for it. It was apply only. I've made it a little bit more exclusive to, you have to be invited now. It's not that there's anything bad that was going on. So there were some trolls in there that I had. There's 800 people in there, so anybody it was kind of not. It wasn't getting out of hand, but I just had to address some issues because I don't want people to be stepping back, coming as a contributor there and feeling a certain type of way because somebody is DMing them a certain type of way. That's taken care of, and you don't have to worry about that. It's only for research only. Also, there's a chat feature in there. We talk about stuff back and forth. It's pretty much all research related or any kind of positivity or things that happen in your family or your personal life that you feel comfortable with sharing that will help to raise the spirit of people, because there's no fear porn, there's no news. Matter of fact, again, I'll underline, and I've said this numerous times, I'd like it to be an escape from that, release from the regular mainstream news feed. And not only that, you can contribute to what we do. You can help out networking the realm. For example, anybody could be on there. Like I expressed earlier, Philip, who I consider a friend and a good researcher, is in Moscow. Campbell, the same, a friend and a good researcher, is in Perth, Australia. Martin, we haven't had any episodes yet, Martin and I, but we're working on getting a roundtable for you. Campbell's really good with that. I'm kind of a good communicator and getting a bunch of different, camps together, if you will. Woody from Wood and Nichols is down for a roundtable. Possibly John Levi is down for a roundtable. Okay. I will, of course, incorporate Michelle Gibson, Philip Druzinin. Campbell is the one. Campbell's the maestro. He would host it. I would narrate it, or I would lead it Cam hosting it, as far as him having it would be on his channel, I believe. It's the most easiest, and he's the most apt at that. But we'll be addressing the questions you guys have, and we're not going to be separating and becoming more diffuse and have a chromosomal separation happen in this field. Matter of fact, I aimed for the opposite to happen, and that's why I got ahead of this by, see, I'm just showing these pictures now and rambling, but with a specific focus to progress. And I hope that I addressed the T word question in the beginning with the B word, if you will, barbarian, or G word with gaijin. It's not being complacent on our part when we revert back to what we did before, or what we were doing before. And I'm not holding anybody personally accountable. Matter of fact, I'm holding myself most accountable, because we're, and we should be, our own harshest critics. Especially if we're putting out there research that I don't like to use the word against mainstream academia, but it's certainly alternative to. And when you enter that territory, people like to use the pseudo. And I just want to avoid that. This is professional. Let's have a professional conversation about it. I've been solicited professionally to have interviews, and I'm going to think twice about it, because I don't want to be I don't want to get off into that pseudo science type of realm, because we have just as much right to question things as a mainstream person would, if you will. And let me give an example of that right now. Oxford. This is going to be my deep dive. Okay, so I believe that was the end, and now we're repeating. So let's go here. I appreciate you coming back for another episode. Hopefully you like that. Hopefully I made some cohesive sense in the beginning. And hopefully you like the area that I showcased. This is my research website that anybody can be invited to. Again, Campbell from Autodidactic set it up. And that's all we do is research the old world and post it up here. Be professional, be respectful. And if you do drop a video, I require that you either write a detail about it or explain how it relates to some of these subjects. Okay? No fear porn, no news about alleged sickness that may or may not be going around. Certainly not trying to trigger anybody, but that's not welcome here whatsoever. It's not welcome. You'll be removed immediately, because this is only positivity, only research related and affiliated stuff. So appreciate that. My email is in my YouTube. My channel. Appreciate you to come here and sub, share, and like it if you like it. And my next video will be at the War Memorial Stadium, or Johnny B. Wiley, the old rock pile where the Buffalo Bills used to play. And it also used to be the old water reservoir. Matter of fact, give you a little bit more of a preview, because you guys all deserve it. Of course, we know that. And as it just so happens, made another connection with another gentleman here. And we'll give you a little bit of a taste here. Here we go. 111. Mine as well, right?
What you got?
So as I was, this is going to be my next boots on the ground. It'll be out within the next couple days. As I was going around here, my man,
What you got?
Melvin, or excuse me, Wendell. Met another great friend here, and just out of the blue, there you go. Buffalo boots on, buffalo kicks on the ground. Okay. And if your intentions are good, good things will happen to you.
Fucking awesome.
Pardon my language. So Wendell came out with a gem here, and I have way more pictures of this place. I walk around, I do a whole 360 of it. I think this is plaster of Paris. I think we'll figure it out. Actually, matter of fact, I might ask Wendell to help me out on that because he told me to come back.
Man, this is awesome.
His buddy works there.
Hey, you know this used to be the reservoir. Oh, I'll be here for a minute. Oh, hold on.
Yeah, he's trying to show me this.
My man.
Boom. The old Civic Center is next, boots on the ground. Email me you want to come here and contribute. This is Dustin, aka Berserker Bear. Hope you liked it. And this doesn't stop, this continues. I will report back. Thanks again. Take care.